When people look up at the night sky, it feels like space is something permanent and unchanging. The same stars, the same constellations, the same Milky Way humanity has been looking at for thousands of years. It creates the illusion that the universe is frozen in place and that Earth exists somewhere stable and safe. But in reality, our planet and the sun are racing through the galaxy right now at enormous speeds. And the solar system itself is just a tiny point inside an unimaginably massive cosmic structure. And the most interesting part isn't even the size of the galaxy, it's the fact that our position inside it may be one of the main reasons humanity exists at all. Because not every part of the galaxy is equally safe. Some regions are flooded with radiation. In others, stars are packed so tightly together that space turns into complete gravitational chaos. And then there are places so empty and dark that the existence of complex life there becomes a serious question. Now imagine a scenario that sounds like the beginning of a science fiction movie. A normal evening. People step outside, look up at the sky, and realize something is wrong. The constellations are gone. Polaris is missing. The Milky Way looks completely different, and some of the stars humanity has known for centuries have simply vanished. At first, people would probably blame faulty instruments, some strange atmospheric phenomenon, or a rare astronomical anomaly. But eventually scientists would come to the only possible conclusion: Earth is no longer in the same part of the galaxy. And that's where the truly disturbing part begins. Because our location in the galaxy isn't just some random point in space. It affects the stability of the entire solar system, the amount of cosmic radiation we're exposed to, the likelihood of catastrophic impacts, and maybe even whether life can exist on Earth at all. So today, let's imagine what would happen if Earth suddenly appeared in another part of the Milky Way, closer to the galactic center, out near the edges, or even completely outside the galaxy itself, drifting through intergalactic space where almost nothing exists. And some of these scenarios are far more terrifying than any classic end-of-the-world story. To understand why, we first need to talk about where Earth is right now and why this location might be almost perfect for life. Our solar system isn't located in the center of the galaxy, and it's not all the way out on the edge either. We're somewhere in between, inside one of the Milky Way's spiral arms. Put simply, we live in a relatively quiet neighborhood. There aren't too many stars nearby. The density of dangerous objects is fairly low. Radiation levels are relatively stable, and that matters a lot. When people imagine the galaxy, they often assume the closer you get to the center, the more beautiful and exciting space becomes. And in a way, that's true. The center of the galaxy is packed with stars, giant clouds of gas, and all kinds of extreme cosmic objects. The problem is that these places are terrible for life. The central regions of the galaxy are basically like an overcrowded megacity. Stars are much closer together there than they are near us. That means more gravitational interactions, more supernova explosions, and far more intense cosmic radiation. In those conditions, it becomes much harder for planets to maintain stable climates for billions of years. But being too far from the center isn't great either. Out on the edges of the galaxy, space becomes emptier and poorer in heavy elements. There are fewer stars, less stellar activity, and less raw material needed to build rocky planets and complex chemistry. Some regions may simply never produce planets like Earth at all. That's why scientists sometimes talk about something called the galactic habitable zone. It's an unofficial term for the regions where conditions are considered relatively favorable for complex life. And Earth happens to sit almost perfectly inside it, far enough from the violent galactic center to avoid constant chaos, but not so far away that we end up isolated in a barren cosmic desert. Considering the scale of the galaxy, that feels almost absurdly lucky. Because the Milky Way is so enormous that light itself would need roughly 100,000 years to cross it from one side to the other. And inside that vast structure are entire regions where humanity probably could never survive. Now imagine Earth suddenly being moved much closer to the center of the galaxy, to a place where space no longer feels calm or safe. Because that's where things start getting dangerous. At first, it might actually look beautiful. If Earth suddenly appeared closer to the galactic core, the first thing people would notice is that the night sky had completely changed. Right now, when we look up, there's a huge amount of darkness between the stars. Space feels calm and open. Near the center of the galaxy, that wouldn't be true anymore. The density of stars there is so extreme that the sky would look almost alive. Instead of scattered points of light, Thousands upon thousands of stars would fill the heavens, many of them far brighter than anything we normally see. The galactic center itself could dominate the sky as a massive glowing structure bright enough to illuminate the planet even at night. And honestly, it would probably look incredible. But in space, beauty often comes with danger. The central regions of the galaxy are highly unstable environments. Massive stars are born, live, and die there far more frequently than they do near our solar system. And every supernova explosion releases enormous amounts of energy and radiation. Even a single nearby supernova could seriously damage Earth's atmosphere. The ozone layer would begin to break down. Radiation levels at the surface would increase. The planet would become far less protected from high-energy cosmic particles. And if those events happen regularly, life starts existing under constant cosmic bombardment. But radiation isn't the only problem. The more stars you pack together, the more their gravity disrupts everything around them. Stable orbits become harder to maintain. Our solar system has remained relatively calm for billions of years, which gave life enough time to evolve without civilization-ending catastrophes happening every few million years. Closer to the galactic center, that stability might disappear. Even distant flybys from other stars could disturb comets and asteroids, sending huge numbers of objects into the inner solar system. The odds of Earth being hit by something catastrophic would increase dramatically. Humanity would essentially be living inside a far more aggressive version of the universe. And we haven't even talked about the most extreme object in the galaxy yet. At the center of the Milky Way sits Sagittarius A times a supermassive black hole, millions of times more massive than the Sun. Of course, it wouldn't suddenly suck in Earth the way movies like to portray black holes. But the environment around the galactic center is still vastly more chaotic and violent than the region we live in now. And the longer humanity remained in a place like that, the more obvious it would become that some parts of the universe simply are not built for life. But what if the opposite happened? What if Earth ended up not closer to the center, but far out near the edge of the galaxy in a region where stars are incredibly rare? And honestly, that version of space might feel even more unsettling, because the first thing people would notice is how empty the sky had become. Not metaphorically, literally. Most of the bright stars would disappear. The constellations humanity has known for thousands of years would completely fall apart, and the Milky Way would no longer stretch across the sky as a bright glowing band. For the first time, people would truly understand how dark the universe actually is. Today it feels like stars are everywhere, but that's only because we happen to live inside a relatively dense region of the galaxy. Out near the edges, the distances between stars become vastly larger, and space starts to feel almost dead. In some ways, those regions are actually safer. There's less radiation, fewer supernovas, and fewer dangerous gravitational interactions. Compared to the galactic center, the outer edges are much calmer. But that calmness comes with another problem. Heavy elements like iron, oxygen, and silicon, the materials planets and life are built from, are created inside stars and scattered across the galaxy when massive stars explode. And farther from the center, those processes become less common. There's less stellar activity, less recycled material, fewer opportunities for Earth-like planets to form. So you end up with a strange balance. The center of the galaxy is too violent for life, while the far edges may be too empty and chemically poor for life to emerge in the first place. And the farther humanity drifted from the crowded regions of the Milky Way, the stronger the feeling of isolation would become. Because it's one thing to understand the size of the universe intellectually. It's another thing entirely to actually see it. Imagine a night sky with almost no stars, a massive black void overhead, a few distant points of light, and somewhere far away, a faint glowing smudge the galaxy humanity once belonged to. In that moment, people might finally understand just how lonely life in the universe could be. But even the edges of the galaxy aren't the most terrifying scenario, because there's another place where stars almost disappear entirely: intergalactic space. And honestly, this may be the darkest scenario of all, because there's a huge difference between living in a dangerous part of the galaxy and existing somewhere where almost nothing exists at all. When we imagine space, our brains automatically picture stars, nebulae, and glowing galaxies everywhere. But most of the universe doesn't actually look like that. Between galaxies are enormous regions of near-total emptiness, with distances so extreme that the human mind struggles to process them properly. If Earth somehow ended up there, the night sky would become truly alien. the Milky Way would no longer surround us. Instead, it would appear as a distant glowing patch somewhere in the darkness, like a faint cloud of light floating in an endless void. Most of the stars humanity has always known would simply vanish, because the nearest stellar systems would now be unimaginably far away. And that's where something psychologically strange would begin to happen. As long as people live inside a galaxy, the universe feels alive. Something is always glowing, moving, exploding, or forming somewhere. But in intergalactic space, the universe starts feeling less majestic and more dead. So empty that humanity itself might begin to feel accidental. Imagine an entire civilization living beneath a nearly black sky every night. No dense star fields, no glowing galactic band overhead, no sense that anything else even exists nearby. Just silence, darkness, and a distant galaxy that somehow became unreachable. That realization alone could fundamentally change human psychology, because for the first time, humanity would truly see the scale of cosmic emptiness. And the most unsettling part is that the universe wouldn't care at all. No dramatic apocalypse, no explosion, no cinematic ending, just endless silence and the realization of how small Earth really is compared to a universe with no visible boundaries. But there's another important question here. Even if Earth somehow ended up in another part of the galaxy, or outside the galaxy entirely, could the planet survive the move itself? Because everything depends on one critical detail. Did the solar system move with us? That changes everything. If Earth somehow got separated from the sun, humanity would probably be doomed almost immediately. Because the sun isn't just a bright object in the sky. It keeps Earth in orbit, provides heat and light, drives the climate, and makes almost all modern life possible. Without it, Earth would become a frozen world surprisingly fast. First, the familiar sky would disappear. Then temperatures across the planet would collapse. Within days, much of Earth would experience extreme cold, and over time, the oceans would begin freezing beneath thick layers of ice. Some liquid water would likely survive deep underground thanks to Earth's internal heat, but the surface would become nearly uninhabitable. Photosynthesis would stop, plants would die, food chains would collapse, and eventually, most life on Earth would disappear with them. Even if humanity had advanced underground cities powered by geothermal energy and artificial lighting, that would only buy time. Civilization might survive for a while beneath the surface, but life on Earth as we know it would effectively end. And honestly, the worst part wouldn't even be the cold. Without the sun, Earth would lose its sense of home. The sky would become permanently black, and the planet itself would drift alone through space with no system, no direction, and no connection to anything familiar. But if the entire solar system moved together, humanity would at least have a chance. The new region of the galaxy might still be dangerous or strange, but Earth would continue receiving energy from the sun, meaning life wouldn't vanish overnight. Which raises another question. What could possibly move an entire star system across the galaxy? The forces required for something like that would be almost impossible to comprehend. And yet, the universe actually contains objects and processes capable of changing the trajectories of stars. For example, massive gravitational interactions could do it. If an extremely massive object like a rogue black hole or another star passed close enough to the solar system, its gravity could alter our path through the galaxy. Events like that are incredibly rare, but the universe has existed for billions of years. Given enough time, almost anything becomes possible. There's also an even larger scale scenario: galactic collisions. Right now, the Milky Way is slowly moving toward the Andromeda Galaxy, and in several billion years, the two galaxies will begin merging into one enormous system. Direct collisions between stars are actually uncommon because the distances between them are so vast. But the gravitational chaos during a galactic merger can completely rearrange the positions of countless star systems. Some systems could even be thrown far beyond the boundaries of the new galaxy. And honestly, that idea is terrifying, because events on that scale are completely beyond human control. Compared to them, humanity doesn't even look like a grain of sand. It looks smaller than that. There are also more speculative possibilities. Some scientists have suggested that an extremely advanced civilization might one day learn how to move entire star systems using the energy of stars themselves. Right now, that sounds like pure science fiction. But then again, if you compared modern technology to what humanity had 1,000 years ago, our current understanding of what's possible would probably seem just as absurd. There are even theoretical ideas involving warped space-time, cosmic structures, or other effects that currently exist more in mathematics than in reality. And while all of this sounds fantastical, the universe has repeatedly shown that reality can sometimes be stranger than fiction. But maybe the most interesting part of this entire discussion isn't whether moving Earth across the galaxy is possible. It's the realization that our current position in the Milky Way may be far more important than most people realize. Because the deeper scientists study the cosmos, the clearer one strange fact becomes. Earth exists in an unusually calm and fortunate region of the galaxy. And maybe that's exactly why humanity had the chance to appear in the first place. Honestly, the strangest thing about all of this is how fragile our existence starts to look once you zoom out to the scale of the galaxy. In everyday life, Earth feels stable and permanent. Oceans, atmosphere, day, and night. We treat them as ordinary things we barely even think about. But the moment you imagine Earth somewhere else in the Milky Way, you realize how much depends on where we are. Too close to the center, and space becomes a violent region filled with radiation, supernovas, and instability. Too far away, and the universe becomes cold, empty, and almost lifeless. And beyond the galaxy itself, humanity would face a silence so vast that every problem on Earth would suddenly feel unbelievably small. Maybe that's the most important realization here. Humanity didn't just appear on the right planet. It appeared in the right part of the galaxy because space is far less friendly than it sometimes looks in beautiful photographs. From a distance, the universe appears calm and majestic. But the more we learn about it, the more obvious it becomes that most of it is completely hostile to life. And against that backdrop, Earth starts to feel almost miraculous. A small planet orbiting an ordinary star in a relatively quiet corner of the Milky Way, where life had enough time to emerge, evolve for billions of years, and eventually begin asking questions about its own existence. Maybe that's why space fascinates and terrifies people at the same time. Because the more we learn about the universe, the more we realize one thing. Humanity's home isn't just Earth. Our home is an incredibly small, an incredibly rare safe point inside a vast, cold, and nearly endless cosmos.